What's going on, everybody? Welcome to 3-Point Lead. My name is Max Loeb, Loeb's Leads. This is a Loeb's Leads podcast, and this is episode 5 of our Division Outlook series, talking about the AFC East today. I think we all know who's going to finish in the bottom, but the top 3 teams, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to debate with them. The offenses on each of these teams have a lot of question marks, a lot of talking points, but the defenses are what's going to be what separates them from each other in the AFC East. Before we talk about the 4 teams in the AFC East, though, if you are new, make sure you subscribe. You can go down below to do so. You can hit the like button if you enjoy the video and leave a comment if you want to give your 2 cents on the AFC East. But without further ado, let's talk AFC East, and I'm going to start with the New England Patriots because at the time of recording, the New England Patriots have officially named Jacoby Brissett the starter for Week 1. Now, I think this Patriots team is a lot worse than people give them credit for. I think you look at this team and you automatically think past New England Patriots, good defense, bad offense. Can they win 6 games? That was the thought. But now you lose your 2 of your 3 best defensive players, because Christian Gonzalez is still there. But you lose 2 of your 3 best defensive players, and you're no longer a team with an identity. And it's year 1 of Gerard Mayo. Like the identity will come as time goes, but it's year 1 of a team with no identity. Your starting quarterback is not the super promising starter that you wanted. How are you going to respond to that? Like, what can you do about that? I don't know if you can do much. Let's run through their schedule, though. Week 1 on the road against Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati wins that game. Week 2 at home, and I've talked about this with the NFC West video. They have Seattle traveling to New England on Sunday. I do think the Patriots win that game. So they go 1-1. But listen to their next opponents, guys. On the road against the Jets on Thursday Night Football, they're not going to win that game. On the road against San Francisco, they're not going to win that game. Coming back to New England against Miami, does Drake May start this game? Is this his first full start? I don't know. It's a lot of questions. I have the Miami Dolphins beating them, though. Week 6, hosting the Houston Texans. They're not going to beat the Texans. Week 7, traveling to Jacksonville. I don't think they beat Jacksonville. Week 8, hosting the Jets. I don't think they beat the Jets. Now, as time goes on, this team is going to get better, but so will other teams, especially teams with younger quarterbacks. So when you look at the Titans Week 9, I don't think they're good enough to beat Tennessee. The Bears Week 10, I don't think they're good enough to beat Chicago. Week 11, host the Rams. They're not good enough to beat the Rams. Week 12, travel to Miami. They're not good enough to beat the Dolphins. Week 13, hosting the Colts. They're not good enough to beat Indianapolis. Now, Week 14 bye. I assume Drake May is starting at this point. The schedule does get a little bit easier, right? Week 15, you're off the bye against Arizona. I do think you can beat Arizona. Week 16 against the Buffalo Bills. I think the Bills take this one at home. But Week 18, hosting the Bills when the Bills probably won't have too much to play for. They're playing for a wild card spot. It's going to be that weird Week 18 game we always get with the Patriots where the team that should not win the game does win the game. I think the Patriots win this one. And then Week 17 against the Los Angeles Chargers, they can win that too. So I have the Patriots finishing now at 4-13. It's a very, very interesting thing here because you look at the Patriots and you look at everything that they've stood for the past 2 decades. It's good defense, and then obviously you have Tom Brady on the other side. But the few years without Brady, it's good defense and trying to do enough offensively. I'm not convinced they have that good defense. I do think Christian Gonzalez is going to have a big year. We will talk about Christian Gonzalez. But I'm not fully convinced that the New England Patriots can win more than 4 games. Like I think 4-13 is the reasonable projection for the New England Patriots. Obviously, very much depends on what Drake May does. But got the Patriots at 4-13, and then we have 2 teams at 10-7, guys. 2 teams at 10-7 in this division playing each other twice for a wild card spot. Let's start with the Buffalo Bills, though, because this is a much bigger talking point with this team. Losing Stephon Diggs, you obviously have a new offensive coordinator, a new offensive identity. How much does that change without Stephon Diggs? I think people look at the team from last year and you say, offensively, and maybe just as a team, they got better as the year went on. When Diggs was less involved in the offense, they were winning games, they were beating good teams. But how much of that was Stephon Diggs and how much of that was their schedule? How much of that was Josh Allen? How much of that was the teams they were playing? I also do think you got to talk about this team defensively because they don't have Matt Milano anymore. They lose both of their starting safeties. There's a lot of question marks on this team. I think their defensive line is good and they'll be able to stop the run. But defensively, there's a ton of question marks on this team. Let's run through their schedule. Buffalo Bills, Week 1 against Arizona. I would be shocked if they lose this game. But remember, these early season games are games that if you're a team, you're trying to make a wild card spot or even win division, but trying to make a wild card spot, huge early on. So Week 2 against Miami on Thursday night in Miami, better weather. I think Miami wins that game. Now, off the bye, or mini bye the next week against Jacksonville, I think the Bills take care of business there. But They got some tough games after that. Traveling to Baltimore, I think Baltimore wins that one. Traveling to Houston, I think Houston wins that one. Traveling to New York, play the Jets, I think the Jets win that one. Now, that'll put them at 2-4 after 6 weeks. And they're not a team that's 2 games below 500. They're much better than that. And they'll beat the teams they should beat. Next week against Tennessee, they'll beat them. Next week against Seattle, they'll beat them. I think they beat Miami week 9. Week 10 against Indy, they beat them. And then week 11, when they're hot, they get the Chiefs coming in to Buffalo. I think they take care of business there. And I think they stay hot after the bye week in week 12 and actually beat San Francisco. So after going 2-4, they rip off 6 straight to move to 8-4. But this schedule towards the end of the year is tough, guys. Traveling to LA after you're riding in a crazy, crazy high, beating the AFC and NFC champions, I think you come back down to earth and you lose to the Rams. I think week 15, traveling to Detroit, Detroit's off their mini bye. I think you lose to Detroit. Traveling to New England, week 18, I think you lose to New England. Now, week 16 and week 17, you host division rivals, New England and the Jets. You beat both of them, and you put them at 10-7. Now, strength of schedule, division record is going to be huge, right? They're 3-3 in the division. They split with everybody. That's how it goes with the Buffalo Bills. They split with everybody, 8-0 at home, 2-7 on the road. Now, we'll move to the other 10-7 team because I do think this 10-7 team is worth talking a little bit more about. And newsflash, the division record for this 10-7 team, that'll be one spot ahead of the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. The last playoff spot, this team is the number 7 team. The Buffalo Bills will be missing the playoffs at number 8. Division record here is 4-2. It's the Miami Dolphins. I think when you look at this Dolphins offense, it's really good. And I think last year defensively, it was flat out dysfunctional. I think that was a huge reason they didn't play well. They were injured at the end of the year. I worry about this team consistently playing good defense, and I worry about the health of this team. Health was another huge reason last year they started to falter. But you look at their schedule, you look at all the teams that they will have to play. I genuinely think Miami can beat any team on their schedule. I think because of how good their offense is, they can score with the best of them. I think they can beat any team on their schedule. Week 1, you beat Jacksonville. Week 2, you beat Buffalo, like we talked about. Week 3, travel to Seattle off of a mini bye. You take care of business there. Week 4, you beat Tennessee. Week 5, you beat New England. Then you head into your bye 5-0. Off your bye, you travel to Indy. I think you beat Indy. You're 6-0. Week 8, you host the Arizona Cardinals. I think you beat the Cardinals. The Dolphins start 7-0. But like I said, they finished 10-7. They have the Buffalo Bills on the road, which they'll lose. They'll lose that game. On the road against the Rams, they lose that game. Miami hosting Vegas. Even though Vegas is off a bye, I do think the Dolphins get it done. Week 12, hosting the Patriots. They win that one. So even after starting 7-0, dropping a couple, guys, they are now 6-0, dropping a couple. They are now 9-2 in the schedule prediction. But listen to their final 6 weeks. On the road against Green Bay. I think Green Bay wins that game. Hosting the Jets off of a mini bye is actually their final win of the year in week 14 because next week you travel to Houston, who's coming off the bye. That's a tough game to win. I think the Texans win that one. Week 16, you host San Francisco coming off of a mini bye. Really tough game to win. I think San Francisco wins that. Week 17, you travel to Cleveland in the dead of winter. Cleveland coming off of a mini bye. I think the Browns win that game. Week 18, you travel to the Jets. I think the Jets win that game at home as well. So you're looking at this team. You're looking at everything they can do. And to be honest with you, the way it worked out, that Week 18 game would actually be for the division, the Jets and the Dolphins, because if the Dolphins were to beat the Jets, they would both finish 11-6, and the Dolphins would have beat the Jets twice, so they'd take the tiebreaker there. But the Jets beat the Dolphins in basically a divisional championship, and they finished at 10-7. This Miami Dolphins team is going to score a lot of points. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch on offense. It's going to electrify your TV screen. But defensively, what can they do? They're 6-0 versus teams with a losing record, 3-6 or 4-7 versus teams with a winning record from last year, 1-6 versus teams that made the playoffs last season. So I think Miami takes care of business against the teams they should. It's kind of the theme with the Dolphins. But when you look at beating elite teams, especially at the end of the year, it's not going to be good enough for them to win the division. Now, the division winner, if you haven't figured it out already, is the New York Jets. We'll talk about the Jets, and we'll get into our award predictions at the very end here. But the New York Jets have a very, very tough schedule, especially as it relates to their end of the year. Shocker. Everybody in the AFC East has to play a really difficult schedule when the year ends. Now, week 1, traveling to San Francisco. I don't care if Brandon Ayuk plays. I'd love to see the Jets win this game. I don't think they do. But next week, you play Tennessee. You win that game. First game at home, week 3 against Patriots. You should win that. Coming off of a mini bye because that Patriots game is on Thursday night. Against the Denver Broncos, you beat the Broncos and you move to 3-1. Then Week 5, I talked about this in the NFC North video. I think the Vikings shocked them here. I think the Jets moved to 3-2. The Vikings beat the Jets. But week 6, I think you beat the Buffalo Bills. Week 7, you travel to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh takes care of business at home. In the next couple of weeks, you got teams that you should beat. New England, you should beat them. Arizona, you should beat them, especially coming off of a mini-bye. Indy, you should beat them. Houston's tough. I think Thursday night, the Jets do beat Houston. So they rip off 4 straight. Sunday at New England, then Thursday against Houston, Sunday at Arizona, then Thursday against Indy, and they walk into their bye with 2 losses. Now, again, end of the year is really tough. Coming off a bye, you get a nice little ease into it with the Seattle Seahawks coming into town. You beat them off a bye, but then you got to travel to Miami. You're getting the Dolphins off a mini bye. I think the Dolphins win that game. Then you got to travel to Jacksonville. I think the Jets win that game. Hosting the Rams, and this is where it gets really tough because I go back and forth on this Rams team. I go back and forth on everything they can do, the standings. I think the Rams win this game. I think the Rams off a mini-bye go into New York and they win this game. And then I think the Buffalo Bills beat the Jets the following week, making that Dolphins-Jets AFC East championship game, week 18. But again, the Jets win that one. And they finish 11-6. I can't remember if I said the record or not, but 11-6, finishing number 2 in the AFC, believe it or not, number 2 in the AFC behind the Kansas City Chiefs. So this is a really good team, a team that's going to play some good defense, a team that's going to score points. Aaron Rodgers will lead this team to points. I'm not really worried about that. But this is a much better team than people will give them credit for. One of my favorite futures and one of my favorite props to look at too. We'll talk some player props in a minute here. But I do want to give our award predictions because there's a lot of really good players in this division. There's players to watch. If you haven't seen the award predictions so far, we go offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, rookie of the year, breakout player of the year, and sleeper of the year. Without further ado, though, let's get into it. We will start with the sleeper of the year, and I'm going to go back to the Buffalo Bills offense who lost Stephon Diggs, and you need to find someone to make up the receiving production. I think everybody looks at Khalil Shakir, and that could absolutely be the answer. But Curtis Samuel, to me, is a guy who's as suited, if not more suited, for the slot, a guy that can be the gadget guy in the backfield, a guy that can draw a lot of eyes defensively. I think Curtis Samuel is the big spearhead in this Buffalo Bills pass offense outside of Dalton Kincaid. I think Kincaid will be the number 1, but I'm looking at Curtis Samuel to be the big spearhead for sure. I think he's going to have a big impact on that offense. We move to rookie of the year. Shocker, it's Drake May. I think Drake May is going to come in and be unbelievable. When he comes in and is unbelievable is based on the timing. Now, we looked at that Patriots schedule. We thought maybe week 5, week 6. How comfortable are you throwing him out there that early? That's the question. I think a lot of it hinges on Jacoby Brissett's play as well, because there's a lot of really, really good teams the Patriots are going to have to play, and I think they're going to cause Jacoby Brissett some trouble. Brissett didn't look great in the preseason. I think May probably comes in just before midseason and shows up, but you watch him play in the preseason, there's some electrifying qualities to Drake May. I think Drake May is the rookie of the year in the division. Breakout player of the year, it's no secret. I've talked about it all offseason. Garrett Wilson. I think finally having a quarterback, you see the talent he has. Don't really need to beat a dead horse here. 1,200 plus yards, probably 7-8 touchdowns. I think Garrett Wilson is going to have a huge year in New York. I think that Jets offense can be better than people give him credit for too. Defensive player of the year, I'm going to fire you up a little bit here. I think it's Christian Gonzalez of the New England Patriots. I think you saw what he did last year before he got hurt. Coming out of the draft, people thought very, very highly of him, and then he came into the NFL and was dominant, shut down right away. I think this year, where he is the main focal point in this Patriots defense now, he rises to the challenge yet again and has an unbelievable season. He is my defensive player of the year within the division, not within the AFC, not within the NFL, within the AFC East. He is my defensive player of the year. And my offensive player of the year is Tyreek Hill. I mean, you find new ways to get him the ball every single day. The speed kills. I think Hill is in for another enormous year. I don't think I need to beat a dead horse either here. The only other thing I did want to potentially talk about is Josh Allen. Want to stray away from the quarterbacks with this award, but offensive player of the year to me is Tyreek Hill. I don't see a world where if he doesn't stay healthy, he doesn't get 1,500 yards, catch 100 balls, much like last season. Now, I will tell you guys, his projection right now on Better Picks, which you can join with code LEADS, LEADS, they will match your first deposit up to $250, is only 97.5 receptions. I think he crushes that. He caught almost 120 balls last year. I absolutely love that projection. Again, if you guys want to join Better Picks, they will match your first deposit up to $250. Best way to play fantasy sports, picking more or less on your favorite players, their projections, their catches, their yards, their touchdowns, whatever it may be. better picks, code leads. I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys listening. Next episode will be the NFC East, my Giants. We'll see what happens there. Newsflash, they're not going to win that division, but I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time. God bless.